That's a great way to reject the UEE, become a citizen, and then become a pirate.
Yeah.
People are wondering about the dialogue system. Is it going to be like Mass Effect? How are we going to interact with characters?
So it's not going to be like Mass Effect in terms of a wheel selection. We're really trying to do something that's as immersive as possible. So, I think I've talked about this before, but it's based on kind of like interaction, first person interaction, catching someone's eye, sort of like you would in real life. Like in real life, if you look at someone, they look like they've just looked at me, and that's like, hey, you want to say something, right?
Right.
That's how you engage people. So we're going to have a system where your previous actions and also your demeanor and whether you're looking someone in the eye or not or paying attention to them will affect how they're responding to you. And then you sort of have the option where you basically, maybe kind of a little similar to Wing 3 and Wing 4, where you sort of can hear your inner thoughts, like, hey, Dave looks like a good guy. Maybe I'll shoot the shit with him, or I can't be asked talking to Dave because he's boring. I wouldn't actually say those two things, but that's my inner thought. And then based on what I would choose, based on hearing sort of my thought in my head, I would have a response to him, and then my response would affect how he would, and it would sort of go from there. So it would be a combination of sort of, mostly binary choices interspersed with sort of eye contact and body mannerisms that will affect your relationship with the person you're talking to.
Well, and one of the things you had said early on was, as a divergence from the Mass Effect system, was conversations are dynamic, and they start and they finish. They don't have the sort of thing in Mass Effect where you can kind of go back and re-click every option, and because that doesn't really feel like you're interacting, you're just sort of checking boxes. So we're actively trying to kind of stay away from that. So it feels like, if you insult somebody, you don't get to go back. It doesn't reset and let you ask them a different question. They get annoyed and they walk away from you, type of thing. So they're more. It gives you more consequences to how you handle your conversations rather than just, I'm going to see every single possible iteration of what this person has.
No, I agree. I mean, that's my problem with Mass Effect, is that it took me out of the game because I would literally do every question to make sure I didn't miss something.
Right.
And half the stuff really didn't mean anything to the game anyway. So no, this is more, I would say, like you're going down a river and like the rapids go left or right or left or right, and you've got to make that choice and you can't go back up it. But there'll always be opportunities later on to maybe get a relationship back to a better place than it was before. But it should be like real life. I mean, if you just call someone a dick to their face, you got to do a bit of work to come back from that.
Right.
User wondering if we'll be introduced to all the systems in Squadron 42, salvage, repair, combat, the stuff we're going to see in the universe.
Yeah, I mean that's part of our goal, right? Our goal is sort of take you through Squadron 42 and learn how to use your ship systems, learn how to patch yourself up after a battle, and I mean there's that's kind of that's why maybe people think, oh, it's a tutorial. It's not really a tutorial, but you will go through most of the game systems in the story setting, which will hopefully prepare you for the persistent universe.
All right. User wondering how the orchestral session is going, and we're actually going to have some more on that a little bit later.
Yeah, that's a good lead-in. Well, I mean, not just yet, but in 5 minutes we're going to play a new video, so you'll be happy with that. And then I think we're going to have Martin around to answer some questions. I don't know whether we'll have Pedro too, because he's in Portugal. Are we having Pedro too? Great, brilliant. So we're going to have both Martin and Pedro, who is our composer, to answer questions very shortly in about 5 minutes. So 5 more minutes of Squadron 42 questions. Make Dave feel loved.
With the co-op campaign going, what will we be able to do there, basically?
So the concept of the co-op campaign is that you basically can drop in and take over some of the wingmen when you're in the battles. So essentially, flying the missions, instead of it being Wingman X, it can be Dave. Me and Dave flying the mission together.
I was kind of equated to those scenes in The Matrix where Agent Smith
Right.
teleports into the person's body, sort of like that type of thing. Like the NPCs are established, but it's just your friend is playing as them.
And not necessarily on the conversation side, right? On the ship, it's more
Right.
in the action part. They can take over controlling them for the action.
Right.
And then during the other thing, I don't think we've decided quite what we do. Maybe you would just passively hang out and watch. Well, like maybe a third-person view of what's happening. While your friend plays the character, so you can see him talking or whatever.
Oh, that'd be cool.
But yeah, that's kind of the plan.
Wondering if there will be different difficulties in Squadron 42, easy, medium, hard, or if it's just going to be the Squadron 42 experience.
That's actually a good question. I don't know if we've made a decision on that yet. I mean, default, you would probably think, there'd be easy, medium, and hard. Can't remember if I even had that in Wing Commander. It's been so long ago. Maybe I did. I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, that's actually fairly simple for us to adjust because it's the AI is going to. I mean, ultimately, if we had the AI on made it like the hard AI, then it would be hard for most people to beat it. So we may very well do that. I haven't sort of made the choice yet, although there is something to be said for not making anything too easy. So you actually have to achieve your victory. So we'll probably maybe have some modes, but nothing will be
Static.
too easy.
Oh.
Vortex would like to know about penalties for
Not doing Squadron 42 versus benefit when you're starting out in the universe. Is it going to be something everybody wants to do, or is it entirely optional?
It's entirely optional, but I think you would have to earn your citizenship a different way if you wanted citizenship. I think you would, you would obviously miss out on learning some of the way to use things or ship systems, but you can probably figure that out yourself anyway. And I think that you'll miss some potential connections later on. So you'll make some connections in Squadron 42 that could help you in the persistent universe. Go look up this person; they'll give you some jobs, or go over here. They'll give you they'll tweak your laser guns to plus to be more effective. But they only do it for XVets or whatever it would be. But you won't be handicapped by not playing Squadron 42. It should be completely elective. It's just you will have different routes in the persistent universe to achieve the same ultimate status that you would have done by playing Squadron 42. But Squadron 42 is going to be fun. I mean, the way I view it is it absolutely could be a standalone, full price AAA game, just Squadron 42, and then you've got the persistent universe added onto it.
Wondering about character customization in Squadron 42. Are you going to create your character at the start of the campaign, or is everybody going to be the same square jawed?
No, you got to create your character. We've actually got a really cool way to do it that's completely in fiction. It will work, and it'll also pay off later in the persistent universe if you want to change. So I don't necessarily want to reveal too much of it, but anyway, I'm quite happy with it. I feel like it's completely in fiction. You can go completely buy it, and it will be cool. So you can be a man or a woman. You can choose how you want.
I have a lot of folks wondering when we're going to see our female character.
We are actively working on that. So we have a 3D female character, although we're now shifting our technology to full body scanning. So we're doing facial and full body. I mean, we hit a stretch goal. I guess it was quite a while ago. It's amazing just how quickly stuff has gone. Where we're doing facial scanning, but we're also going to be doing full body scanning. And so we're shifting to that now to sort of up the level of fidelity on the characters and the faces. So the face that you've seen so far in our stuff is that's not that's a 3 compared to what we're going to be doing. We may not show the current modeled female because we're going to actually do a proper body scan for a female, which is up and coming. Actually, I think we're going to scan by the end of this year. So that should be all pretty good. But yeah, we're definitely focused on having our female and as well as the base male for people in the game.
Let's see. One user wants to make sure that we know he'd like to keep his sidearm after Squadron 42. Let's see. Friendly fire. Will there be friendly fire in Squadron 42?
That's a good question. I'm kind of inclined to say yes,
Oh,
because
yeah.
friendly fire is always fun. I think Maniac always used to generate a lot of friendly fire back in the original Wing Commander. No, I would say probably yes.
So I think your wingman.
Carefully if you're doing the co-op mode. Let's see. Is there going to be a medal on ranking system?
So what was that, Ben? A medal ranking system, you said?
Metal ranks.
Like the original Wing Commander.
Yeah, no, we're definitely, I think, going to give you medals and awards. I mean, I would say sort of the Wing Commander as a model is the best. We're trying to like build it in such a way that, like, for instance, like some of the later Wing Commanders, because we filmed all the stuff, we would keep wingmen around for story points, but this one we're trying to make more flexible. So you could finish the story and without the original Wing Commander, you could finish with all the wingmen being dead, or you could finish with all the wingmen still living, and we're sort of more in that direction than we are in the Wing 3 or the Wing 4 direction.
Sounds good. I'm personally looking forward to that. Number of flyable ships in Squadron 42. Has there been a decision yet, can we say, or to come?
I don't think we've figured how many. What have you got so far on the outline?
One, two, at least 6 in some capacity or another.
There are at least 6 in some capacity or another.
Yeah.
Potentially more.
Yeah.
So fighters, bombers, probably transport,
Ops, like
special ops one. So
yeah, cap ships.
Cap ship.
At least it is.
I'd like to know if all the dialogue in the game will be voiced.
Yeah, in Squadron 42, everything's going to be voice.
And most of it, most of the
Performance hero capture too. So
think if you've seen Rise,
think that level or better.
Question for, I guess, both Dave and Chris. Fiction influences for you in planning the story for Squadron 42. What inspires you?
I actually watched a lot of World War II movies.
World War II. I mean, we were also going. I mean, say Gladiator.
Right, that's come up a lot.
Is a big inspiration because we're taking the lead from sort of the Roman Empire, even though we're way in the future. So the Ninth Legion.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little element of Gladiator, the Ninth Legion, World War II stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I actually reread
Apocalypse Now.
Apocalypse Now.
So.
I reread Generation Kill last week as part of the preparation for it, just because of like the personal dynamics between the guys. Firefly, of course. Cowboy Bebop. Always good ones to go back to.
Yeah. Although I'd say Firefly and Cowboy Bebop are more the persistent universe.
Probably, yeah. But they're just always fun.
But they're always fun. Yeah, but I think we're trying for something pretty epic in the story. So
yeah,
I'm actually, I think people are gonna like it. That's my opinion. So we start really big, and then we kind of go from there. So.
Yeah.
Flies with Scissors would like to know if there's going to be humor in Squadron 42.
Yeah, I mean, I think even even serious films, the best ones work well with Aliens is a great example, right? That's a pretty intense movie, but it has great moments of humor, mostly involving Bill Paxton.
I think Hudson is one of the best characters in that movie because he's really funny.
Yeah. Game over, man. Game over.
One user concerned that all the voices might be British. Could you clarify that one?
No, only the bad
guys will be British. No, just no. It's we're gonna it's gonna basically get cast like you would a big movie. So potentially there could be some British actors. There'll also be American actors. It should actually feel You know, like the one of the things with the Wing Commanders was that, you know, I deliberately tried to make it multicultural because it was the future. So you figured that, you know, all the different nations and races that we have now would basically all be fighting together for the Confederation, and that's no different, I think, than the UAE is. That it's definitely going to be multicultural, and in fact, I would guess that the future will be much more of a melting pot than it is even today, because, you know, as time goes on, you know, who's going to care what country you were from on Earth? I mean, you have all these different planets, and so
Planetary identification more than.
yeah. So I think you'll be kind of like, yeah. I mean, you know, you'll be sort of, yeah. Everybody would be essentially some level of mixed, right? It's like now in America, you probably go back to people's genealogy, and they're a little bit of Irish, a little bit of American Indian, and they're a little bit of this, or a little bit of that. If you actually went all the way into it, and I think in the future you're gonna have more of that, because that's just the nature of the expansion and the beast. So we're gonna sort of do that. So it won't all be English accents. It is orchestral time. Okay, we have a new video for you, and I think on the other side we're going to have Martin and Pedro for you guys to talk to. So let's roll it. Nice talking to you guys. I'll be talking to you pretty soon on the other side.
My name is Martin Galway. I'm the audio director on Star Citizen. Now, we just finished the first of our orchestral recording sessions, and of course that's to satisfy the stretch goal that we reached back in November of 2012. And it was actually quite a surprise for us back in those days, because we just set that as some far off achievement goal, you know, orchestral session, you know, we'll never have that, but maybe off in the future. What actually happened was, on the last day of the fundraising month, that's when we hit the goal of $6 million. Pedro Camacho has been a part of the Star Citizen team a lot longer than anybody realizes. Pedro was inspired by this demo on October the 10th, from the videos to Chris flying around and his talk, you know, about what Star Citizen was going to turn out to be.
Just to hear Chris Roberts' name, for me, was enough. Whatever he was doing, he was back on games, it had to be huge and excellent. I was a huge Wing Commander fan.
Pedro Camacho was a Portuguese composer who divides his time between games, television, theatre, and real performance music, like his famous Requiem to Inés de Castro. Pedro has already composed for over a dozen games, but I think Star Citizen is his biggest project so far. And Pedro immediately started composing and came up with more or less 2 or 3 minute demo of what would become the Star Citizen theme, and he sent that to Chris, and Chris really liked it. And Pedro also helped us on the 3 commercials that we put out so far, the Hornet, the Aurora, and the 300i, which, you know, the music all sounds incredibly different in each one, but it's all done by Pedro. And Pedro is basically the composer on Star Citizen now. It seems weird to be recording the orchestra so far ahead of the final release of the game. Most game projects, they wait until the last minute so that they know exactly what the tune list is and how long every tune's supposed to be and all that kind of stuff. And in our case, we're releasing Star Citizen in a series of vertical slices. So we're recording the subset of tunes for Space Battle in this first session. The process of creating the music starts with the initial asset list of what tunes we're going to need. And for Space Combat, Chris and I basically went back to the old Wing Commander template and said, you know, we're going to need a tune for this part, a tune for this part. The music's going to vary according to how much damage you've got and things like that. And so it's fully interactive. And once it's broken down into individual clips of, you know, a minimum length, let's say, then we can approach someone like Pedro and say, you know, how long is it going to take to compose all this?
So once I received direction from Chris and Martin, I'll make a sketch in MIDI and they respond if it's too fast or too slow. Then we go from there and then try to implement that track in the game. So my MIDI workstation has all the notes from each instrument in the orchestra individually sampled. So when I combine them together, they actually resemble very closely what a real orchestra will sound like.
There's the creation of the initial music, if it's a theme or a texture. Then you have the orchestration, which is the adaptation for the large group of players.
Composing is like making a black and white drawing, and orchestrating is like coloring that drawing. That's why I always orchestrate what I do, because I want to be sure that in the orchestra session, I hear the colors I had in my mind.
So for Star Citizen, all the music you hear, every note, comes from Pedro. When the time came to find an orchestra to actually play all these parts, we asked Pedro, what do you think? And he said, well, I really have a good feeling about this group in the Czech Republic called the Kapellan Orchestra, headed up by Petr Pololianek. They are a freelance group of players, mostly concert masters and the principal soloists, from different orchestras that get together to play these great scores for film trailers and video games. And these musicians have never seen this music before. They're not sent anything ahead of time. It's the first time they've ever seen it. And they're such good readers of music that they can do a good take almost from the first few minutes. The orchestral session is about 4 hours long, and it can be any time of the day, whatever we have booked. In the case of our recent session, it was in the evening from 8 p.m. to midnight. And the orchestra players all came in, by themselves from different places, assembled and sat down, opened their cases. And they would start to play immediately. And they see the first page of the score, they get going, they play the very first take, all 75 musicians going at once. It's quite possible that there'll be a perfect take right from the get-go. They need to warm up a little bit, but you always record from the get-go in case there's a great take. The very first piece of music that Pedro submitted was the Star Citizen theme. And when we have a theme, we basically encapsulate an entity and all of its good sides and bad sides and details into one piece of music. And so we can say, when we're playing this piece of music, you think of this entity. Whether it's a person, a landscape, a planet, a nebula, dangerous environment, or, just the entire franchise.
There are several key themes that will be used throughout all the composition of Star Citizen soundtrack. These themes will be readapted to give a more adventurous or a more sad feeling to a certain moment of the game. For example, Star Citizen's main theme will be reused many times during Squadron 42 storyline in the most important key moments of your adventure.
Our game is no different from a regular film recording session in that it's a bunch of takes. When you play a music CD of the score of a film or a game, and each track sounds like it's complete, it's actually several takes spliced together with a lot of editing skill. And we have engineers that listen to the orchestra as it's playing and make little paper check notes and that kind of stuff as the performance is going through. And if they ever hear a dull note or something that could be improved on, they make a note. The rule of thumb is that you get between 5 and 7 minutes of final music end to end from each 4-hour block, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's 5 to 7 minutes of perfect music. And so you need more than one session to get an entire game done. And even our dogfighting module has about 15 minutes of music. And I'm looking forward to that. This is always one of the most fun parts of the job for me. It's not just artists and designers. You get a violin player working in the game. It's a great thing.
Good. All right. You're on yet or not? Not yet. Eye on it? Yep. Okay, so hey guys, a couple of things. One, we'll have a
$32 million letter later on as soon as I can get out of the conference room and Ben can get out of the conference room, so probably after the live stream's over. We have Martin Galway online Skype here. You just saw the orchestral up. Yes, show. Yes, accept, please. There we go. And Pedro. Hey, Pedro. How you doing?
Hey. Hi, Pedro.
You just you heard and saw some of Pedro's awesome work, and we thought it'd be kind of fun for the community to ask Pedro and ask Martin questions about music and the sound in Star Citizen. So over to you. I'll just listen here.
How are we getting the questions? Are we getting them from Ben?
Ben, yes, that's it.
Yep, I can. Question for you guys. If you want to ask some questions about the music on the chat roll, we will ask Martin and Pedro. Wondering if it will have AMD True Audio support.
I'll take that one. That's a yes. Chris committed to that at the AMD event, so yes.
All right. What's your inspiration for the music you've done so far? Squadron 42 and Star Citizen.
Yeah. Well, it's Chris and Chris Roberts because of all his lifetime work, and of course the game itself, which is absolutely amazing. I want to play it. I can't wait to play it. To be honest, can't wait.
Wondering if Pedro does music besides classical pieces.
Yes, I do. I do music for TV work, for other video games, and some film as well. So yeah, I do. Even though games are probably games and concert are my biggest passions, perhaps. Yeah.
Hey, so also one thing, Pedro, I think on the previous question, I'm guessing that they're probably wondering what, say, film music or music in general, like, was inspirational for you outside of like the game itself, in terms of thinking of the music you were composing for Star Citizen. So you want to maybe speak to that?
Okay, other inspirations besides, there was a movie I really enjoyed a long time ago, which was The Last Starfighter. That was a movie that really touched me because it was a kid that wanted to be in the stars, and through a video game in the movie, he was selected to be the last starfighter, and so that movie really touched me. I really loved it, and Star Citizen is kind of like that. It reminds me of that movie. Of course, there are other movies that really inspired me, like Super 8, like Star Trek. Of course, that's I think that's everyone always has that inspiration as well. So maybe those are my biggest inspirations. So like classic, old sci-fi movies, perhaps, and I think those were my biggest inspirations. Yes.
The chat folks went crazy when you mentioned The Last Starfighter. Apparently, our fans are also very into that movie.
Oh, yeah, I saw it like at least 7 times. So, yeah, it was great. Right. You've been selected by the I forgot it, Corhan Armada, something like that. It's great.
Wondering if there will be dynamic music in the game. Will it react to what you're doing in the cockpit?
Yes. We are borrowing, like I said in the video, borrowing from techniques that we used in Wing Commander and Freelancer and things like that to bring adaptive music that changes in intensity, reflects the fact that you've got damage, or if emotionally things are going well, we will use more hopeful or positive music, and if things are grim, even if your ship's in great shape but the battle is nearly lost, we'll have music that reflects that.
There should be a small number of people, vocal, however, who are wondering why we have sound in space at all. Can we address that part?
Let me at him.
Okay, look. This is the answer. Look, all right, look. It's a game, and even though there is no sound in space, there's sound in some parts of space. If you're in a fine dust cloud, you will get some sound propagated that way, but most of the time, there's no sound. We're going to have sound because that's a great way to convey the action, because you can only see out the front of your ship. Even with Oculus Vision, you can only see in one direction. See, that's my animation right there. Sound's going to convey to you what's going on behind you. I mean, I'm not sure what these players want. The ones who want no sound in space. They're only going to see in one direction.